morning, all. Good morning, listeners and viewers. Welcome to the Real Stuff podcast. Today, good morning, my co-host Courtney.
Yeah,
And this
morning
morning we
pleasure.
have a very, very special guest who has been with us many, many times. Mr. Carlston Medford will be speaking or continue speaking about mental health, the state of our minds, especially now in this pandemic that is keep on here with us. Good morning, Carlston.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing fairly well. Yes, fairly well. So, Courtney, you want to kick it off?
Okay, morning, Carlston. Okay,
Morning.
yeah, I just want to ask you this quick question.
Yeah.
As a therapist, how would you address childhood unresolved issues, um, especially trauma, involving the witnessing of a parent or a family member or a friend who died tragically?
Yeah. Trauma in period. I'm funny you asked. I was only yesterday working with a youngster, age around 15, and when he had first contacted me, he was talking about how he saw himself, how he classified himself as is something traumatic happened to him. People tends to look at the incident and associate the incident happening with what they did. So it as though they're responsible for the event itself. So with trauma itself, it is the attachment that or the meaning. I'd like to break things simple. It is the meaning you give the incident, right? That results in one how you react to it, also the intensity of the emotion that is attached to it as well. Because with trauma, like everything else, there are two components I always talk about. There are the events that happen, right? The meaning you well, sorry, three. The events happening, the meaning you give the events, as well as the emotional attachment to the event itself, right? You with me so far?
Yeah, with you, I'm
Sure,
with
yes.
you.
Yeah, for instance, if you think about something that happened to you in your whole childhood, and most trauma um, within adults happen within your childhood. There are cases where people go to war as an adult and things happen that you create trauma because of the events. But most trauma you come across is within your young years. Something would happen and your interpretation of the event creates an emotion. So that emotion is stuck to the memory. And every time you access the memory, you're accessing the emotion. So if it was a very um, negative or hurtful emotion, you're accessing that emotion every time you think about the memory. So with trauma, one of the first things we do is try to always reduce that intensity first. So there are different techniques that people will use with EMDR. You've heard about every now and then it slips my mind what EMDR, but it's all about eye movement, resensitization, right? Um, remedy is like using your eye access to access part of your brain. That's very, I'm not going to go into that, gotta get very technical trying to explain that. But the first step is always to identify what the trauma is, what the event is. I don't really go into get a person to talk about the event too much. I just want you to get into that state. So talking will help you, but I don't want you to get too deep into it. The reason is once you can bring the emotion to the surface, then we start to reduce the emotion. If I tell you of, this is what you need to do, but you're not in the state, it is like um, me giving you instructions and then leaving you on your own to try to apply them. So one of the things we would do is get you to access the memory, access the emotion, and then use certain techniques like EMDR, um, reframing, even hypnosis to reduce the intensity of the emotion, or rather to not just reduce it, sorry, I should rephrase that, to zero it down. Because if you can get that emotion from, say, a level 8 down to a level 6, using the same procedure, you should get it from a level 6 to a level 0, right? So trauma is all about the emotion that is attached to the memory. So the person I will always work with the person to do is try to zero that emotion down. Then we will also look at the memory and the event and give it a different meaning as well. Because what can happen is I might work with somebody and today you feel much better. Tomorrow, as you get to, guess what? You might start to run the same program again. It is similar to turning your computer off or turning it back on, and it reboots and the old system more or less starts to run if you don't change it from before. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that is the simplest way I would explain it. As one, zero the emotion down. Two, challenge what the perception of the event is to you. Because everything that we experience is a story we tell ourselves. We give meaning to what we observe. You know, a person will see, like the example given, a person will see, say, a death or something. Even traumatic might be, and this is just me explaining, for example, that I can think about, the witnesses of a child witnessing a murder, right? Can be very traumatic for any human being. It can be very traumatic, but it also creates a belief system in that person's head based on what that event means to them. So that is what I try to get people to challenge as well, the meaning you give to the event. Because if you can look at it from a different point of view or give it a different meaning, you can also change the emotion attached to it. Have I managed to explain to you a simple way of looking at trauma?
Yes, you did. But I just you mentioned something that is very interesting though.
Yeah.
The whole use of hypnotherapy in situations like that.
Yes.
So
We will.
you want to just expand a little bit?
Yes. The reason you'll find that a lot of hypnotherapists will use that technique, our brain uses like I said, the easiest way to explain the human brain is just to look at a computer. Believe it or not, the computer is modeled on how our brain works. Our brain runs internal programs. To access that internal program, our brain has to be operating at what we call a level of theta, which is between say 4 to 6 hertz. Now, when we're in a state, because you would have heard people mention about the brain waves being alpha, delta, beta, gamma, right?
Gamma, yeah.
Right. When we are up and we are moving, we are at a state of the alpha and alpha and beta. When we go into theta, that is when we're very hypnotic. That's when we're in the stage where we soak up information. Because children, from the time to the age of 2 till 7, their brain operates in the state of a dreamlike state. That's why you give children a box, and a child will turn a box into a car. You give them a broomstick, they'll turn that into a horse, right? Because at that stage, your brain needs to absorb as much information of its environment. That's how we learn. That's why children pick up a language. If you want to teach a child to be bilingual, the best time to be bilingual is to learn when you're a child. You can, because your brain works at a frequency which is absorbing information like a sieve. It is really taking in information and processing it at a much faster rate than when we get older, when we settle into our beta and alpha states. Because at that state, our brain now set and say, okay, this is the programs we run. We don't need to be at this pace anymore. We can now slow and relax back into a more way of a relaxed way of thinking. What hypnosis does is put your brain back into that state of theta so you can access more memories, you can access more information that you have stored in your unconscious. Because at any one particular time when we are conscious, we only hold on to 7 bits of information plus or minus 2. In other words, if I ask you to look around and pay attention to observe things, I ask you, tell me some of the things you've seen in the room, people will normally call a minimum of 5 or a maximum of 10 comfortable, because we only hold on to a certain amount of information per any one time in our natural awareness. So to access more information, we have to get into our unconsciousness. Our unconsciousness, because our unconscious mind, our unconscious brain absorb so much more bits of information that we can connect to. It's like if we had to be more aware of everything that we're actually seeing, our brain creates a loop that causes like overload. So our brain has three ways of dealing with information. We distort information, we generalize, or we delete information. Because it's like trying to put so much information into, say you got a hard drive that has a maximum of 5 gigs, and you're dumping information that is up to about 50 gigs. You can't get all the information, so it has to figure out how do you categorize or deal with all the information so you don't have information overload. So what we do is then, by using hypnosis, is getting into the program that actually runs that trauma within your body and changing that program, and it only is more effective at a state of theta, which is equivalent to being under hypnosis. So hypnosis is basically a tool to get your unconsciousness to actually accept a new internal program of how to deal with the memory of something that was perceived to be traumatic.
Yes, thank you very much, Carlston.
Yeah, man, it's very, very deep, yeah. Very deep.
I try to, one of my things is all about awareness and education. When you work with someone, I always educate them as to my ideas or my theories, because if I can get the person to identify this is what is happening to me, then you become aware. You become aware of what your process is, so that when you don't know, you start to recognize, you start to, as I said that word, you start to recognize this is what I am doing and this is the result I'll get. So in other words, I can then determine to do something different in order to get something different.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Good, yeah, good. I was, like I said, I just want to be, I also want to make sure I answer your question, but in a way that it is easy to follow, because the
Yeah.
whole, I found that one of the best tools that I use before working with people is not just to simplify it, but to explain it, get feedback. That way you're here, I'm always asking you, and do you understand what I'm saying? Because once I get feedback from you, I know I am explaining it correctly. If you told me you didn't understand it or you're lost, then I have to go over it. And it gives me time to practice it, so to make it very clear. It's all about understanding and making it clear that you can process it yourself. You see, I have also come across a lot of people, when I spoke to them, they're being to different therapists, and when I ask them, do you understand what's happening to you, they always tell me no, which means that some therapists may use a particular technique to get a result, but because you don't understand how you got to the result, and then you go back to the original programming, then you have to go back to them again and again. And I never understood, well, I do understand now, but why would a person be going to a therapist or a psychiatrist for 2 or 3 years for the same problem? Because my thinking is, if you have the same problem, you're going to a person over a period of time and you still have to be going to them, then it's not being fixed. And if it's not being fixed, how effective is that person skill? I've worked with people. I think the fastest phobia cure I did with a friend of mine was over just 10 minutes.
Mm.
So I try
And
to explain things as simple as possible.
they understood immediately.
Yeah. You see, half of the solution is you being aware of what the problem is.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
understand.
So once you can say, you know what, I can see what I am doing and why I'm getting results I am getting. Then when I show you what to do, or and explain to you why do this, then when you walk away with knowledge that you can continue with. You can continue to practice. It is like going to school and learning a particular skill. You might learn it, but until you keep practicing it and practicing it is on how you improve upon it.
Yeah.
Knowing is one thing, mastering is something different.
Yeah. That's a good statement. Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that at all. You know, they learn it today and it's gone tomorrow.
Exactly. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So I like to educate people so that, and don't get me wrong, not that I won't be, because at the moment I have stopped doing a lot of one-to-one counseling with people, and I'm focusing on putting workshops. So I've been trying out some of my courses having people try it out so I can monitor the results, so I can say, well, this worked, this doesn't work, so that when I have a program running well, I can say, well, I've tested it and I'm ready to market this program. And all it is to get people to enter into one of my courses, to take them from point A, where they are, to point B, where they want to be, going through the same step by step, what I normally talk about.
Mhm.
Because I believe with the right information, correction, and structure, anyone can work on improving their mental health. It's the same approach as improving your physical health. You know, you decide, you know what, I got too much extra weight around my waist, and I really want to go to the gym. I really want to work out, and you might start off going to the gym, and you might start doing a few things here and a few things here. But until you have someone that can say, listen, if you start, this is the first thing I'll tell you to do. First, look and see where you are. Look and see what you want to work on. Get information of what you can do, which is my words I always talk about is awareness. Be aware of where you are. No, they have a structured plan of, okay, I know not just exercise, what types of exercise, how long do I exercise, what are the intervals for exercise that works for me? Because even each individual person, everything will be different to them. They will have certain programs, certain instructions on everyone can do push-ups, everyone can do sit-ups, everyone can do incline barbells, but not everyone will do the same thing at the same time. So it's figuring out what is common that everyone can do in a sequence to get everyone results. So that's what I work to try to help people figure out how to get from A to B. The same way you do it with physical health, you also do it with mental health.
How different is your approach with different age groups?
Um, at the moment, I focus a lot on, say, 40 to 55, over 40s. The reason I focus, one, because that's my age group, and I can use my own story to relate. Two, you'll find that over a period of time, people that say experience or categorize themselves as a person with mental health issues over a long period of time tends to be more uncomfortable with the label, right? Because you know, being labeled for, say, a mental person for, say, 20 or 30 years, not, you can't, some people do get comfortable with it. Actually, some people, it becomes their identity. And I find that when I talk with that group of people, it seems to be more influential for change. They seem to have a need for change. I will have to look at, see how I can, because I don't want to try to make something too general that no one eventually people just look at it and not really connect to it. So I'm more just focused on being very specific to a particular group. When it comes to younger folks, I would love to develop a program for younger people with a different approach, because it is to identify or let them see, this is where you are and this is what you think. But if you can learn from now to make this change and these thinkings, because you know, when we're young, our brain is more malleable. We are more flexible with our thinking. When we get to a certain age, we get so ingrained. After the age of, say, 25, our physical health as well as our mental health is more or less at a permanent programming. We are who we are from the age of 25, but with our body start really growing, we've already passed through puberty, we have developed our muscle mass and stuff, and we're very, very blinkered in who we are. So the programs that I working on is mostly to geared, because the marketing is mostly geared towards elder 40s and above. But with younger people, because I don't work with them, I haven't focused on that yet. The information will still be applied. Is how do I make it? How do I make it? How do I target them using specific language? If I hope I explain myself clearly.
Yeah, surely you did.
The information, the tactics, that's it. The tactics will remain the same, but it is the marketing that will vary. And tactics is basically how do you do X, Y, or Z, right? The strategy would be this is what you do. Tactics is how do you do it.
The next question, with the mass amount of what is happening now through the pandemic,
Yes.
so many people having these problems. How are people in your field coping? This is what is,
Um, well, I would assume, as someone said already, there probably is plenty of work to go around, right? Um, from a personal, a professional, and a business way of looking at it. What I would say, and all right, first thing first, let me take a step back. The same programs that we run in our head. Remember when we first was going into lockdown, everyone was scared. Everyone was scared what's going to happen because of the unknown, right? So everyone started to create ideas or visions in their mind what the possibility, what the outcome can be. That is anxiety within itself. That is the explanation of anxiety is thinking about the future and creating an uneasiness in your body. When the person always talks about being, oh, I might, this is another phrase, my anxiety, they own it, they use that as an identity, which is a wrong statement, but that's a whole different language we can get into. When they get anxious about something, the first thing we think about, because our brain is designed to keep us safe. And the only way to keep us safe is to identify harm or danger so we can avoid it. It looks for danger so that we can avoid it. The problem is we are creating danger in our mind all the time. And don't care where we turn, we can't avoid it. So we are always in a state of stress, right? And that is the issue itself. The ideas or the perception we create within our mind. So our anxiety, which is actually a natural response, because anxiety in itself is not a bad thing. Excess anxiety will be a bad thing. And that is what we do. We produce or we create too much of it. So we create it going into lockdown. Now we're actually creating it coming out of lockdown. Because remember, at first it was, oh, we are so separated from everyone, and you start to miss that connection. You get very anxious about what's going to happen, and it affects your health. Now we are lifting the restrictions on going back out. Everybody's getting anxious again. Oh, if I go around this person, I'm going to pick it up, and this is so. It isn't the problem is our internal processes. The problem, when you look at what we're doing, where we're going into lockdown, where we're coming out of lockdown. Your stress going into it, your stress coming out of it, you can be stressed, period. It is the program that we are running. And for the last 2 years, everyone got so stressed, run that program so regular, every day. When you get too close to someone, when someone sneezes in your vicinity, when you understand that you went somewhere and 2 days after that person got coronavirus, oh, I saw them, I probably gonna end up with it. We run that program so often that even now coming out of lockdown, when we're getting less response, we're getting less illnesses, we're getting less hospitalizations, we're still running the internal program of being anxious, which causing stress for everything. Now, I had coronavirus about 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. Luckily for me, I had no symptoms. My daughter had it, I got it from her, she picked it up at school, but we had no symptoms. And I reckon one of the things that kept us where we were because we just didn't stress about it as well. At first, we had a bit of a fever and stuff, but every day was like listen to music, relax and chill because I was aware that the more I stress about it, the more I suppress my immune system, the more it might take hold. Now, I'm not going to say that that is a general statement because everyone has a unique immune system and everyone caught this. A lot of people caught the same virus and reacted very different. So it wasn't the variation was not within the virus itself, it was within our immunity. So the only way I know to really enhance or assist my immunity is to reduce my stress. Because stress is a natural repellent to your natural immunity. It suppresses it anyhow. I would recommend people to the same thing. What are you thinking will happen? What is the stories you're telling yourself? And then ask them to use information. Let me disprove it. Let me examine. Let me see what story can you create. In other words, If you manage to get through the last 2 years when things were very heightened, and you're looking at the information now and realize that you have less people hospitalized, you have more people getting asymptomatic symptoms, what is the likelihood that if you caught it, because this is my assumption as well, the first perception was, if I caught it, I'm going to die. People saw it as a death sentence because the media was talking about how many people, every day, I don't know if it was happening where you were, every day you were hearing, today how many people died. This is the number that people die today. And today there's many people that catch it. You get that information every day. The information itself was created the answer to the public.
Every day bar none.
Exactly. So that itself was creating the idea that you caught it, you can end up to be one person that's dying. So people create a story in their mind, coronavirus equals death. Because that's how so that is what was being happened. I don't think it was being done intentionally, but it was happening nevertheless. That's one of the things I realized. Everybody was getting information every day, and eventually it got to a stage where everybody was looking forward to hear how many people died today from death from coronavirus, and that itself ran that program of anxiety within the population. Now that we are coming out of it, that program is still running. So now we are finding information to more or less corroborate that program running in our minds. So we are saying now we're really coming out of lockdown. And here in the UK, the Prime Minister recently mentioned that we will be going back to pre-COVID behavior. In other words, if you are tested with COVID, it's no longer mandatory that you have to be isolating. I think you still can isolate by choice. The question is, how is that going to impact on the work environment? Are you still going to be paid for being off? Is it going to be counted sick leave? All these things I guess with time, we will see what the result would be. But what I would really tell people is to think about what you're thinking about. Notice what you're feeling. Ask yourself, what is the story I am telling myself to get myself to react the way I do? And then ask, how can I think about it to get myself feel calm? Because whether you think it's going to be bad or you think it's going to be good, it is what it's going to be. The environment is what it is going to be. So how do you manage to cope within a changing environment? And it's changing again. It will always be changing back and forth. My advice would always be, you stop, shut your eyes, take a deep breath, breathe out slower. First, calm your mind, calm your body. Second thing, okay, examine, I am reacting this way because of the story I'm telling myself, which is X, Y, or Z. Once you understand that, then ask yourself, what story can I tell myself in order to feel more relaxed? Use information, use statistics.
Okay, Carlston. Yeah, the last time you were here, we briefly spoke about hormonal imbalance and what it can cause. But I'd like to be more specific and ask you about dopamine and serotonin and the role it plays in our mental health.
Right. You have serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin. These chemicals keep our body functioning and balancing. In other words, being connected to people, especially we associate dopamine with achievement, right? For what I researched and come across, dopamine is associated with pursuit of a particular goal or pursuit of achievement. But what all of this basically means is it gets us up and moving, it gets us feeling good about what we do, what we achieve, right? Being connected with another human being, close to say a partner or so, that chemical of oxytocin and serotonin, those chemicals are there to help bridge relationships. These are the feel-good chemicals that we produce in our body by what we do and how we think. Now, when we are in a state of stress, when we're in a state of panic, when we're in a state of anxiety, what we're doing is canceling these chemicals within our body. Most of the times we're producing high levels of adrenaline, high levels of cortisol, you've heard me mention before, right? And these chemicals are necessary to get us up and moving, but having too much of them can cause an issue. So it's having a balance of chemical. Think about it this way: it's having a recipe, right?
Yeah.
A chemical recipe to get your body functioning as we were perceived as being normal. Once our behavior is within our behavior, each chemical is associated with particular behavior, environment, or way of thinking. As I always talk about, it comes back to the same thing: mind, body, and environment. So the way we think produce chemicals, which is that chemicals signal our body how to behave. The way how we exercise signals to our body, this is how it should be. The environment we're in, that's where being close to someone and having that connection, right? All of these things create chemicals within your body to keep a level of balance. When our thoughts are not in harmony, when our body isn't in harmony, when our environment isn't in harmony, that is what triggers that mixture or that recipe in such a way that it is distorted, it is not well balanced, and therefore it affects our mental and physical being. And I'm trying to break it down in a way that make it kind of simplistic. I hope you're following me.
Yeah, I'm following. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Simplest just pop in my head. As I said earlier, think of a cocktail drink. A mixture of Angostura bitters, a mixture of rum, a mixture of syrup, a mixture of lemon juice. And if you get that chemical balance off, it can either taste fantastic. If you get it correct, it's fantastic. If it's not correct, it can taste awful. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have, you have those chemicals in our body, and we know that certain behaviors will produce them. Exercise will produce them. Connection with someone you love will produce them. Thinking about gratitude on mornings will produce them. When we don't do these things, we cannot produce the same results. So the easiest way to look at it is that those chemicals are there as indicators linked to your behavior in order to allow you to feel, I would say normal. I don't like that word normal, because normal is very subjective. It allows you to feel a sense of balance, a sense of well-being.
See, one of the reasons I ask you this question, because I was just reading some stuff and see how important these chemicals, both these two chemicals play in sleeping, and sleep disorders.
When we talk about sleep, not only sleep, there's two things that sleep does. It allows your mind to reset. It allows your body to repair. Think of it this way, right? We are biological. Every day we lose cells. Our body replenishes or rebuilds itself by using what we call stem cells. Now, if we are constantly working and constantly moving, then our body can't repair itself. If you have a car and you're driving a car say 8 hours a day, when you stop and you get out of that car, and then somebody else gets into that car and start to drive that car for another 8 hours, right? And then another person gets out and then drive it again for another another 8 hours. So you got 3 shifts. If it is constantly being driven, how long is that car going to last compared to a car that's only driven for 8 hours a day? You get me so far?
Yeah, I got you.
Right, good. Our body is quite similar. Our body, if we keep running our body and don't allow our body to rest, our body will not get the chance to repair itself. It just keep working. Eventually it will break down even faster. So when we sleep, we have REM sleep, we have deep sleep. Deep sleep allows our body function to repair. It means that our parasympathetic nervous system is now allowing our body to focus on rest and relax. We are rebuilding our blood cells. We are not even really digesting stuff, because we really shouldn't be digesting stuff while we're sleeping. It takes energy away from your body functions, right? But we're using the energy to convert or rebuild a lot of our stem cells to replenish our skin, to replenish our bones or our muscles. That is why we grow up to a particular age. When we get to a stage that our body cannot produce or repair the damage, is then we start to age, because our body is still repairing itself. It just don't do it at the same rate when we were younger. That's why we can recover from injuries at a much better when we're younger. The older we get, that process slows down. That's what is the aging process. So sleep allows your body to repair, and as well as your mind. Our mind joint through there, we produce a chemical within our brain. Um, I mentioned the other day, no slip up my head, but it basically is like the gas or the reaction of our synapses working in our brains, and that's what makes us tired and drowsy as well. So when we sleep, our brain now gets a chance to dissolve that chemical. It also allows us to process the information from the day before, reset our database so that tomorrow is a fresh day. So we not only is our body replenished or refreshed, our mind and our way of thinking is refreshed. When we do not sleep properly, we are disrupting this process. So our body is not repairing itself properly from day to day. Every day we disrupt the process of sleep. Every day we get less sleep. Every day we refuse to get our body into that state of repair and relax. We are actually taking more damage over to the next day. So sleep is very important because of these two things it does. Allow our body to repair itself, allow our mind to repair itself. That's the simplest way of me explaining why sleep is important. One of the things I know I came across recently, and I started using for myself to see how it works, is using magnesium. I don't prescribe to anyone because I'm not a doctor. I cannot prescribe. I only say what I find to work for me at times. Not eating, say 2 to 3 hours before bedtime can also be a good thing to help with sleep. Having a cool shower, lowering your internal temperature, can allow you also to sleep better. Right, your environment. Make sure that there's no clutter around you. You have a nice, the lights are low, the bed is comfortable. Even having, and I love this part. If I struggle, I just do this. Just some jazz. I play some soft jazz and I turn it low. I gotta focus on it so much that the more you focus on it, you find yourself start to dream, and eventually you go off to sleep. So music for me is a key thing. It works well. Right? In fact, put it this way, how interested we use music. If you have a nice, lovely new partner coming over, the lights go down, the music goes on, and it's nice and soft, even a little Barry White in the background, and it works. It sets the mood, right? Well, if it sets the mood for that, it can set the mood for sleeping. Hope I gave you enough information there just now, not too much.
Your street, Courtney.
Yeah, Flavor. So I didn't hear that.
I said, up your street. Smooth
Yes,
jazz.
yes, definitely.
Yeah. but just to illustrate this point when it comes to your questioning, the importance of sleep. It does two functions: help your body to repair itself, as well as allow your brain to repair itself. And remember, if your body is using energy to repair itself, or is using energy to say digest food, it will not be able to use all that energy to do what it's supposed to be. So that's why eating late is not a good advice. It's not advisory, because your body will be busy using blood and using energy to break down and digest food.
Right.
Using that energy and time in repairing itself. You understand?
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yes.
Okay, I want people to understand the importance of that. Listen, I can put my hand and say some days if you just feel a bit picky and something happen, you will grab a snack, but I don't make it a habit. Or what I simply do is on nights, just have some hot water with some lemon, and that's it.
Okay.
Any other questions, guys?
Anything more, Courtney?
Yeah, just one quick question, final question
Yeah.
is, yeah, we know that what COVID has caused, social isolation, and we know
Yes.
it's very important, for us to have social interaction to help, maintain and improve in our mental health.
Yes.
Just give us a little talk about, what can be done, seeing that people have been so socially isolated for long periods of time right now.
This is what I would suggest people
Know
can do.
it coming back to, and what's going to happen as
Yeah.
we come back together.
I think it
Or we
has to,
try to.
for some, it will be a gradual process. Like I said, this is not going to be something that I can say everyone should do, because not everyone reacts the same, not everyone feels the same. But for those that say are struggling, I would say try to get it in groups of threes. Start with small. Start being comfortable around groups of 3 people, and then gradually increase it. If you have to go back into the work environment, do it for 1 day a week, or even stretch it and do it for 2 days a week first. And then as you feel comfortable, extend it there. Right? When it comes to, I know a lot of people here was doing a lot of home shopping, having home delivery, because you don't want to go around people in it, and they understand that. What you can still do when you go in the public, still use your hand, still use a face mask, still use precautions, but gradually get yourself into the environment. Now, this is the tricky part. You are going to feel a bit stressed, because I don't have something I can draw, but I want people to see if you can picture this in your mind. 3 circles, one circle, a small circle, and then a bigger circle on the outside, and then a bigger circle on the outside. So you're looking at 3 circles, one within each other. The circle in the middle, that is your circle of comfort, right? Where everybody like to go because we're used to. When you got to step outside, that you're stretching yourself. So coming from a place of isolation and then having to go around 3 to 4 people, you're now stretching yourself, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Imagine if you had to leave and go into a place with, say, 30 people, you're not going to go into that 3rd circle that we call panic. So you're going to be panicking. So my thing would be, just stretch yourself a bit until stretch becomes comfortable, and then keep stretching gradually. What you're simply going to do is expand your circle from here into this wide vision in a gradual state. And that is the approach with what I would tell people to do. Just push yourself a little bit that is uncomfortable. Stay there for a while until it becomes comfortable, then extend it gradually again. So get around 3 people, feel comfortable. Then get around 5 people, feel comfortable. Go back to work for 1 day, go back to work for 3 days. Eventually you'll go back to work for 5 days. If you go in the supermarket, go in the supermarket for, say, 10 minutes, shop, get something, and then come back out. And once you feel comfortable after a few times doing that, go in the supermarket and shop for 30 minutes. And once 30 minutes, you just come back out. Then get to the stage where it doesn't bother you how long you're in the supermarket. That is how you gradually reintegrate yourself into your environment. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, it's
Yes.
a brilliant way for us to close the program. I mean, people will take this away. I think this was, very, very good.
Good. I'm glad, as usual, we
Close,
also have very
yes.
good discussions.
Yes, Courtney, can you summarize for us?
Yes.
And
Well,
get into yours.
today, just want to thank our guest Carlston Medford again, for his insights on mental health. Surely today we talk about the different, components of trauma, and how it affects our lives, especially our childhood lives. And we take all this trauma too sometime into adulthood, and the different approach of dealing with it. We spoke also about hormonal imbalances, how the chemicals affect our brain and how it affects sleep, and the suggestion of what can be done to deal with sleep impairment, by listening to soft music, especially jazz, and getting a cool shower or drinking some warm tea at night, and try not to eat like 3 hours before sleeping, because what we need to digest our food energy will surely affect us. And last but not least, we talk about the social interaction after being socially isolated because of the pandemic virus and all of that. So, and what is necessary, I love the suggestion of starting out with a triad, a group of 3, and then expanding by adding 2 more and doing this gradually, because by doing this kind of social integration gradually, we find that it will just automatically expand. And so we really thank you for just giving us these insights, and surely we have to continue this discussion, because mental health is really at the forefront of everything right now, because everything that we do involves our mental health. So back to you, Flavius.
Yes, thank you again, Carlston. And like Courtney just said, it's a continuous thing, because mental health is not leaving us anytime soon. And you have the solutions, or you can talk to the people, and we appreciate that every time. And
Thank you.
we ourselves are learning so much, And from time to time, we will, in fact, the next time we probably will have you on with another person, and you people can come together and give us the information that we need.
Thank you. Listen, I'm always grateful when you invite me over, invite me on the program, and we always have a very good discussion. And my thing is that hopefully we share something that, even if it helps just one person listen to the program, I know I would definitely be working towards my purpose. So thank you all for having me.
Yeah, well, every time, and thank you very much for coming.
Great.
Okay.
Listen, so you all take care. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk sometime soon. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
And to close off, yeah, go ahead. And to close off, we're going to ask Queen Labafu with Our Father in the Garifuna language, and Tafina to take us out.
You lead us to Fula. You belong away away. Adugwala Lebabu Seru. Lidamua Lida Sungfula. Lidamua Lida Sungfula.
Well, unfortunately, this is it. Till next time. Bless.
All you gotta do is just speak. One word is enough, and I'm no longer sorrow. I forget what I was trying to say. I no longer do what I was gonna do, but you're no good for me. That's why me know set me a go flee. Me I fi take away me say. Me I fi take away